So hey everyone, and welcome back to Finding Your Purpose. And this is day 3. And as Rizzlekick said, let's skip to the good bit. So the first 2 days I've taken you through 4 different profiles. There are some bonus ones, I think, that I mentioned at the end there as well. But you don't need that. You might benefit from it later, but it's not important. I've taken you through 4 that I think are particularly transformative, informative, and inspirational. So today we're going to get to a really, really fun bit. Okay. This is the part where we start to uncover or discover or let this idea begin to kind of take shape. So this is a really fun bit. But like I said before, we're not going to even bother or think about like job titles and stuff. This is going to be a really natural and organic thing that kind of it's like a shape appearing out of the mist. Okay, we're doing it in reverse to how people normally do it, where they look at all your skills and they go, yeah, you could do this job. It's not what we're doing. We're doing the opposite way. We're starting with the feelings and the emotions, which are usually left out of a lot of like career counselor or careers advice type thing, or even like recruiters and stuff. We're doing it the opposite way to that. We're not going to carry on this very old-fashioned idea of finding what we're good at and what's going to make money, because we can have jobs and doing lots of different things making money, but it doesn't mean we're going to be happy. So that's what we're doing. So I hope that you've had a chance. If you've not watched days 1 and 2, please do go back. They're important. It's an important part of this kind of inspirational picture building that we're doing, and it will help you with step 3. Otherwise step 3 might not work, because whilst it might not tell you loads that you don't already know about yourself, I guarantee that it will help to build this foundation of getting into the mindset regularly. If I had not done those profiles with you and we had gone straight into this visioning step today, you wouldn't have been prepared. Your mind wouldn't have started to work in the way that it needs to work to do this visioning bit today. So and also, if you've forgotten what we went through on days 1 and 2, go back to your results. Either it's been emailed to you, all those profiles that you've done, or you've hopefully saved it somewhere. Go and have a look at your results again and sit with it and pause this and then come back. All right. And just a little note that you don't have to remember every detail here. There's no test. It's purely to connect with it on an emotional level. You don't have to remember the details, and you don't have to, you don't even have to kind of recall certain parts of it. It's just to get you in this space of really feeling into what it is that you're doing. Hey, Rebecca, thanks so much for joining us today. Just a little recap, just to check, Rebecca, that you have gone through all of your profiles that we've done for the last 2 days. If you can just type in the chat and let me know if you've done that. I did a couple, but not yesterday's. Okay, Rebecca, it's going to be really important that you go through all of the profiles that I've set you, because otherwise today's not going to make sense. Okay, but you're very welcome to stay. But I would really, you're really welcome to stay and just listen to what I have to say. But I would really encourage you not to do this exercise today until you've completed your profiles, because otherwise it's just not going to make sense, and you're not really going to be in the right headspace for it. Okay, you're not in trouble, don't worry. I'm not going to write home to anybody and tell them that you've not done your homework. It's absolutely fine. So just listen today, but like don't go into what we're doing, because you might not be, the whole idea of days 1 and 2 is that you would be set up for the kind of space that I'm going to get people to go into. Okay, so thinking about everything that we've learned over the last couple of days about ourselves, I'm going to introduce you. I'm going to take you on a journey. There's not going to be any profiles or anything like that today. You don't have to click on anything. You can either get your day 3 printout, or you can just have, it's at least helpful to have the day 3 printout up somewhere to look at, because it's got some prompts on there that are going to be important, but you can just do this on with pen and paper. Now, you might want to do this exercise either as a mind map. I know that for those of us who are a bit more creative, we might want to just kind of dot things everywhere, or if you're quite a linear person, you might want to just write it in a list or organize it or whatever. I would encourage you just to get it down, like however it's going to come out. Don't worry too much. You might tidy it up afterwards, but this is meant to be a very intuitive and organic thing that you're not thinking about too much. You're feeling into this big time, okay? So either heading or the middle of your mind map or whatever, I want you to write 5-star job or 5-star work, or or 5-star career, vocation, whatever word feels good to you. Okay. So after we've gone through the profiles that I've taken you through, people have begun to get at least a sense of what this kind of 5-star work might feel like, okay? And hopefully a vision is beginning to kind of form in your mind somehow, somewhere. But don't worry, today we'll build on this and really bring it to life. And I just want to say that before we get into making this list or this mind map or whatever, if you're not feeling lit up about something, it's because you've not been honest about something. Because I'm not calling you a liar. I'm just saying that especially where jobs are concerned, we're so used to writing down or saying yes to things that actually we're not that keen on. And this can come in many different forms. I was told about writing CVs, or resumes, depending on where you're from. I was told from sort of school age, when you write your CV, you need to make sure that you write in there that you're a good team player, or you work well in a team. And at that point in my life, I didn't. So we will, all of us, be in really strong habits of writing things about ourselves that are either not true or that actually we don't like. Not that we don't like that thing about ourselves, but we might write things down like, yes, I do this at work, I'm good at this, but actually you don't like it. Okay, scrap that. Be really, really honest, okay? And don't be afraid of saying, actually, I don't like working in a team, I'd rather do everything myself. Well, pretty much everything. Or I actually don't want to work in an office. Maybe you want to do something really creative. Maybe you want to do something that, maybe it turns out that the thing that you really actually enjoy doing is something that your family or friends are going to think is a bit weird. Some people out there get into kind of adult entertainment, and it's actually, they love it. I follow a lady on TikTok actually, and she's in adult entertainment, and she's paid for, I think she's probably younger than me, and she's paid for a house in cash already, and she loves her work. So it could be anything. Just I'm not suggesting that you're necessarily going to get into adult entertainment or anything like that, but just to keep a really open mind, because what could come out of this visioning process could be something that really surprises you, and that's totally okay. And actually, whatever's going to come out of this will probably, hopefully, fingers crossed, be like the best thing that you've done so far. And just to give you a little bit of background, my first ever business that I started over 9 years ago was in hair and makeup. And as a child, you wouldn't have seen me dead with, doing anything girly to my hair, or not that I'm a girly person anyway, but you wouldn't have seen me with makeup on or anything. I think the only thing I ever used my Barbie nail varnish to paint was my mirror, so I could peel it off, because I like peeling it off. But if you'd have told childhood me I would end up with my first business in hair and makeup, I would have been really offended. So despite the fact that growing up I was like quite a tomboy, and I was tearing around outside, making go-karts, falling out of trees, making mud pies, and like collecting bugs and stuff, that's one of the jobs I ended up doing, and it gave me a massive, massive amount of freedom, and it catapulted me into this world of being an entrepreneur and stuff. So it's weird. Like sometimes what's going to come out of this is going to really take you by surprise, but that's absolutely okay. So anyway, let's crack on. I'm just going to check to see if there's any questions. No, we're all good. Okay. So if you can for a moment, put your pen down or your paper, whatever. I want you to sit back, get comfortable, and for a moment, I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes. Now I'm going to take you to a morning in the future. And you're just at that point of waking up where you start to become aware that you're waking up, but your eyes are not open yet. I want you to have a sense of deep excitement and fulfillment. If that's not a sensation you're massively familiar with, make it up. You're smiling, you're looking forward to your day, and you just think, oh, I'm going to have a gentle wake up, and then I've got so many things to do today, or a few things to do today that I'm really, really excited about. So just thinking about that emotion, that space, I want you to start thinking about really connecting to that feeling. As you breathe into it, I want you to feel this feeling expanding and expanding and expanding. In this moment, I want you to realize that really fulfilling work that's paying you really well, better than possibly you've ever been paid before. And you're doing work that really matters. You know you're good at it. You feel so appreciated. And anybody who's buying from you or working with you loves working with you. And you're just really having like the best time. And now I want you to start thinking, as you get ready for the day, on this future day, what is it you're going to do? And now as I pose each question, I want you to feel into what the answer is. And if you write something that doesn't feel really exciting, or like, and exciting can be a little bit scary as well. If you're not used to big feelings or really positive things, it can be a bit scary, and that's okay too. But I want to take you into answering some questions from this space, okay? So you can gently open your eyes and come to, and I'm going to get you to start answering some questions. And again, don't write down anything that doesn't really light you up. I took someone through this recently, and when we got to certain parts, he would write something down, but I would see the look on his face. I can't see all of your faces, obviously. And I would say, you're lying, you're not excited about that. And he'd look at me and he'd say, oh, no, I'm not, but I'm trying to be realistic. I was like, no, we're not doing this visioning so you can be realistic. We're doing this visioning so you can be excited. Okay. Don't get caught up on being realistic. Literally go with something that really excites you, like every answer. All right. So first of all, we're going to start really simple. And I'm going to get you to write down some feelings. How do you feel about your life and your work? You can just pick up a few words here. You might think about being excited, content, cheerful, challenged, if you quite like things that are quite complicated and you like to get your teeth into it. Just start thinking about all of the words that describe how you feel about your work in this completely ideal, like 5-star work situation. Also think about how you feel in yourself, about yourself. I know that for me in the past, I've had jobs where I really wanted to bring my A game, but they didn't even appreciate my Z game. I was just, I felt like an inconvenience the whole time that I was there. So it's a bit rubbish. So obviously in a 5-star job, you know that you're needed there. You know that you're appreciated. So think about that. Write down any words that come to you. Don't overthink it. It's just whatever comes up. I want you to think about what the people you work with are like, whether that's your clients or, maybe you've got some colleagues, even if they're just kind of like business buddies or something, they're not even necessarily working in your business. I want you to think about the people that you're going to connect with in this future day. Do you really get on with them? Do you laugh a lot? Are they very caring? Are they very knowledgeable? Are they inspirational people? Do they encourage you all the time and tell you you can do anything? Start thinking about what these people you work with are like. If you're watching this on the replay, you're very welcome to pause it after each question. And you'll see that a lot of the questions I'm asking you are in the blue section in the day 3 worksheet. Next question is, how relaxed or positive do you feel? Write about that a bit. If you want to take that question deeper, why are you relaxed and positive? And then, how supported are you? If something goes wrong, or you don't know the answer to something, or a difficult situation comes up, which it will do throughout life occasionally. Something comes up, how supported do you feel? How much do you know you can rely on all of the people around you? How good quality is the advice and the kind of empathy and the companionship you have from your colleagues or your business buds or whatever? Pardon me. I want you to think about, on this future day, how different is it getting up for work now compared to how you used to feel? How excited do you feel? How much do you love your work? And next, I want you to really realize, now that you're well paid, you can afford to live, you're doing something that you really love, I want you to realize how much time you have for other things. You can get specific if you like. You can write, I have time to go out 3 times a week, if that's what you want, and you need to see friends or family, or maybe you've got a hobby or something you like doing. I want you to feel into how free it is to have this time to yourself, to use it however you want, and you're not too tired and you're not drained. I want you to write down things about what you're doing outside of work, and how different your work-life balance is now, what it allows you to do. I want you to consider next, how has your health improved? Obviously, health is very different for each of us. And for a lot of people, there's no such thing as total health in the conventional sense, and that's totally okay. Everyone's different. But I'm sure that, much like me, there'll be things that will improve a lot now that you're in this different space doing something else. My mental health got a lot better after I left the world of being employed. And my physical health improved too. I was able to overcome some health problems that I was told I would have to live with forever. It wasn't a miracle thing. I think it was quite practical how that happened. But you know, there are a lot of things that improved. I also had time and energy, and also like enough positive feeling that I could start going to a gym and going to classes and going to things that I enjoy doing. I want you to think about how your health has improved in this future day. And lastly, on the feelings front, what are you helping people to feel? How do people feel when they've worked with you, or they've bought from you, or, you know, whatever this thing, this feeling is? What are you helping people to feel? Do they feel supported, relieved? Do they feel good about themselves? Are they excited because they've bought something that you've made? Do they feel just really grateful and appreciative of having you as part of their team? Maybe you're getting into kind of coaching or healing. Maybe people are just feeling amazing because they've changed something really big in their lives and it's thanks to your help. Maybe people just feel relaxed because they know that you've got a handle on stuff and it's something you're really good at. And they can really see that. They really trust that you're like the best person to fill this role, whatever that is doing. At this point, your heart should feel really full. This idea should feel really delicious. Don't worry about the how. We're just connecting to this idea, to this concept, and to this future day. And next, I want to ask you to write down how many hours you work in a week. Again, don't second guess this. Don't write the maximum of what you really want to do. Write something that feels really good. I know people who make plenty of money and they work 10 hours a week. I also know other people who, after they've launched in their first year, after that they work maybe 4 hours a month. So don't worry about what the answer is going to be or how it's going to work, okay? The whole point of this exercise is to just write down something that feels really good to you. And occasionally, some people may even say, I don't want to work at all, okay? If that's the answer, that's the answer. But I would question that purely because of what we've already been through about the feelings and connecting to that. You are doing something. Even if you're volunteering or even if it's not paid work or whatever. Part of our purpose means living it and really kind of carrying it out. So how many hours do you want to work a week? I also want to preface this by saying that the average person has no more than 6 good hours in them a day and no more than 5 days a week. In the past, I would have argued that that wasn't true of me either. But actually, once I kind of got out of fight or flight and I came down out of my anxiety and I healed from all of that and I learned to relax, I learned that actually the whole time beforehand I'd been running on adrenaline and it's really bad for you. You know, adrenaline is a really useful thing if you're going through a particularly stressful week, or you've got like a launch or something big to do for yourself for a week, maybe more, but I wouldn't recommend it. You don't want to be putting yourself through a huge amount of stress to get through everything. It's much healthier to do something just because you're in love with it and it just makes you really happy. Secondly, I want you to think about how much money do you want to take home each week or each month? Again, don't worry about how this will happen. I just want you to write down something that feels really expansive and exciting for you. Say whatever you want. Honestly, say whatever you want. I did this recently with the client that I mentioned before, and he wrote down 2 grand a month. And I was like, you're lying again. I said 2 grand a month doesn't excite you. Why would you go into all of this and have all of this freedom for the sake of something that doesn't excite you? Because I can see it on your face. I said, what do you really want? He said, I want 8 grand a month. I thought, that's a piece of piss. Just write it down. And I know that that's like maybe a big thing to say. Maybe you're having a reaction like, oh my God, it's not that easy. But I promise you, like, people have done it in a short amount of time when they're aligned and when the energy and the creativity and everything is coming. So again, don't panic about how this will happen. Just write something that's really exciting. Pardon me. So write down how much money you want to take home each month. If you look at the sum that you've written down and you're not smiling, you need to cross it out and go bigger. Go big or go home. Why else are we here? People say that to me, actually. That's a rubbish saying, isn't it? Because if you're an introvert like me, then you like being at home. All right. So next, I want you to think about, do you want to work from home, or do you want to work in an office with other people that you like? Or do you want to travel around, or do you want a mixture of those things? Like, what does your day actually look like? Do you drive to see people? Do you go to people's houses or go to see their gardens? Or, you know, do you work in a building that you like, every day that you pull up to it, you're like, that's a stunning building? Do you travel? I know that in the world of pandemics, maybe that's like a taboo thing to say, but listen, it's your party. If travel is in there in your heart, write it down. So have a think about that. And next, do you want to work face to face with clients, or do you want to sell them things you've already created? Now, if you're new, brand new to the whole entrepreneurial space, you may feel safer at the idea that you're selling things you've already created. That's fine. And especially if you don't have a lot of energy to do this a lot of the time, you know, if you're maybe you've got a long-term disability or something, that means that you can't be, you know, you would maybe worry about being able to attend appointments regularly and things like that. Don't get bogged down by those things. If you actually get a lot of joy working face to face with people, or if you've never really done it in a context that you might enjoy it, if previously you've hated working face to face, I'm thinking particularly of those of us who've worked in retail. I worked in retail, in high-end retail, for years. It's dreadful. So I appreciate that. If you've been in spaces like that, if you've worked in hospitality, I did that for a long time too. And in engineering, worked in an engineering office. Well, I worked in a few actually, for a total of, I don't know, 6 or 7 years altogether, I think. Working in those environments with people, I thought was rubbish, and I really didn't like it. But then I've been in spaces with people I've really liked, and been in parts of like working communities and everything that have been absolutely amazing. And it completely changed my opinion of what it is to work with people, because up until that point I didn't know any different. I thought that hands down, as a rule, working with people was rubbish. But then things changed, like even in my hair and makeup business, I was working with one client at a time in their own house. Most of my clients were either child free or their children were at school when I saw my clients. So it was just me and them. And these were all people that I really liked and really got on with. I loved catching up with them. A lot of them had pets. So I also got to know the pets as well. So it was actually really lovely. So I'm just saying, when you answer this question, just be aware of if you might have biases, if you've worked in a lot of industries with a lot of people who are horrible, really horrible, then it's totally understandable. But just be aware that you might actually get massive joy out of working with people you really like. So just have a think about that. I also used to have like this really strong vision of me working in a studio, like, because I've done painting. I've painted since I was like 2 years old, and I paint all the time. It's one of my main hobbies. And I used to have this idea that I'd have a studio, I would write, as I mentioned before, like I'm an author as well. So I always had this idea that I would be creative. I would be sort of locked away in this room, or maybe I'd go and like write in a coffee shop or in a nice hotel during the day, and like have lunch out and just write. And I would just be really creative on my own. I thought for years that that's something I would end up doing. And whilst I love all of those things, I've actually grown into being an introvert, but yet a people person, which is really interesting. So just be open to that. I think working with people that you love and that you really click with, there's nothing like it. I honestly live for those moments. So just a thought. Also want to ask, have a think about, what days of the week do you want to work? You might not care. You might just say like, oh, Monday to Wednesday. Have a think about it. Again, don't write down what you think might be possible. Just write down what you actually want. Just go for it. And lastly, I want you to ask yourself, what am I helping people to do? So with all of the skills and the personality types and all of the stuff you've learned over the previous 2 days, I hope that you will start to connect to this idea of what you're actually going to be helping people with. You don't have to come up with a title yet, or a type of job, but I want you to start thinking about looking at all of the things that you like to do, and all of the aspects that we've brought into this together. Another question you can ask yourself is, what do you really enjoy doing? If Think about time that you maybe spend online or in groups, if you belong to a lot of groups on Facebook or something, or maybe you're a big TikTok fan. Think about the time that you're spending on there and the conversations that you get involved with, or the comments that you spend a lot of time reading. Think about the sorts of things that you care about and you will speak up about. Or you can think about things that you love doing in your spare time. Write down all of that, literally info dump all of your stuff onto this piece of paper. Let this vision really come together. Just going to check. No questions. So if you still feel like there's a few gaps here, there are a few questions that you want to ask yourself. Maybe if there's something coming up for you that you don't like, or you're sort of having a flashback of something from before, or something that you've had to put up with that you don't like, work out what the opposite is of that. So, perhaps like you've got really long shifts, or you've got a boss that you think is a total bell end. um, whatever, whatever's coming up for you, if there's anything at all that's like a bit negative, or you're like, oh, you feel a bit poo about it, like, that's fine. Maybe it's coming up for a reason, which is good. So think about the opposite of that. So, audience, do you have any questions? Is there anything that's coming up for you? Is there anything that you're not sure about, or something that maybe feels a bit icky? Rebecca, I know I said not to get too involved in the process of this, but are there any questions you have about the process once you go through it again in the replays? Think about anything you might want to know. Okay. Rebecca says, I feel like I've asked myself lots of these questions before, but I'm looking for new answers. Okay. Rebecca, I think once you've gone through, you've caught up on yesterday's sort of homework, and you've gone through that, and then you really get into the vision of today. This is very much an allowing exercise. Okay. So once you go through this exercise, I encourage you to go through all this stuff and like let a picture begin to form. All right. And allow this vision to come forward. Trust that it will. If you're asking yourself a lot of these questions, but you're not getting any new kind of answers, you may be in your head too much, which is partly why the preparation that we've done for days 1 and 2 is so important, because it's getting you into this brain space of feeling rather than thinking. And there is an answer in there. The thing is that, in my experience, we all start out with this sense of like what we enjoy doing, and things that we're drawn to, and things that we can't help ourselves. Like, nobody asks us to do these things, but it's something that, these are things that happen naturally. And then often through the school system and then the employment system as well, we forget. So there will be something in there that it will at the very least be a beginning, be like the next step. If this is the first time that you're kind of really exploring this in earnest, then it may still feel like it's a little bit nebulous, or it's a little bit like you can't quite get the hang of it. But I promise you there'll be something there. And also, this is an intuitive thing, Rebecca, so I don't know if this will vibe with you. But sometimes when we're asking these questions, our ego can really get in the way. I don't mean that in the sense of like, oh, I'm amazing, but it can be the opposite. Ego can also be like trying to keep you safe and trying to keep you small and like, oh, we can't do anything like that. Or I've not got the experience and things like so, you know, there could be a bit of self-sabotage going on there because you're kind of you know, your ego can like be trying to protect you and keep you small. It could also just be as well a purely an informational thing in that it could be that actually you don't know enough people, you've not met enough people, or you've not seen enough variations of things that people are doing. You know, there may be a job out there that you literally, or a type of work out there that you would love to do, but you've never even heard of it, or nobody's ever even spoken to you about it before. So this is a great kind of time to start asking those questions. So Rebecca, I'm going to recommend that you go through yesterday's thing and go through today's task with all of that new information in mind. And if you're still a bit stuck, tomorrow is going to be a bit of a free for all. So basically, Rebecca, I don't know how comfortable you feel about being on camera or even having your microphone on. If it's not for you, then that's fine. But I would really encourage you to take advantage. Oh, hey. Um, but what I was going to say, Rebecca, is that tomorrow we're going to do, so you're going to bring all of your questions tomorrow, and I will do some live coaching. Like, obviously it's totally free. I'll do some live coaching, and if you're the only one here tomorrow, then you can have me for the whole hour if you want to. How does that sound?
I am a bit shy, I'll say that.
That's okay. That's okay. I used to be very, very shy. But that's okay. We
Am
can,
I? I don't even know if I believe that, or is that just what I'm telling myself now because it feels really difficult. But as much as I can do hard things,
yeah.
sometimes I guess what I'm realizing is in real life you can't go out without your camera on and wait for somebody the green box to be around somebody else's face instead of yours.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah, I mean, I think I've had to get over a lot of my fear of being visible. Like that's taken a lot, a lot, a lot. And I think as well, like being part of the trans community, I also, you know, I'm still waiting to transition. I've been on the list for years, so I'm also battling with that a bit because I don't look and sound how I know that I will eventually. Um, so I get how it is to, and also like obviously we don't have to go too deep or you don't have to share anything that you don't want to share, but I will say that for me, I grew up having to kind of intuit other people's moods and avoiding people's reactions. So a lot of the time I was keeping myself small. So for me, getting over this feeling of being visible and like sticking my head above the parapet, like my early conditioning told me it's really dangerous. You can't do that. Like you're safe if you keep your head down and you don't make any noise or don't say anything, then that's the only way you can stay safe. So obviously that's a tricky thing to overcome, I think, for a lot of people. So you're not on your own.
I think with this, it's knowing what the possibilities are.
Yeah.
I guess I'm already I'm lucky in a lot of senses in that I'm already working in a field of my choice. But then there's that sense of is there something that I could am I missing a trick settling for this when there could be something better or something that's more aligned with my general vibe so I'm not getting that sense of burnout and
Mm.
exhaustion that has an impact sort of health wise. So I feel like there's a lot of depth to the questions you've asked today. that I could answer for a good day or for for a not good day, and they're very, very different. And it's trying to find a way of carving out a future that is reasonably and realistic
Mm.
and viable.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's totally understandable. Well, the one thing I would say about this kind of like this kind of switching between, obviously when we have a good day, then we can often be like, oh, it's not so bad. Like, oh, I was probably overreacting before, or I shouldn't like get bogged down. And like, everyone has bad days and we kind of explain it away. But things I always say to people is that there are bad days, I guess, in everything that we do. But I think it shouldn't be too much of the time though. If it's enough to say like this is a pattern, that there are often bad days. I'm also, exhaustion and burnout are like really, really big red flags. And I have a friend who has a habit of picking, this is an analogy, it's not directly related, but I have a friend who has a habit of picking not great partners. And on the days that her partner does something good, she's like, oh my god, he cooked me dinner, and like he was so helpful. And I'm like, it's not these things are not meant to be a special occasion. And I would say the same to you, Rebecca, that especially like in work or whatever, a good day is not supposed to be a special occasion, or it's not even meant to be like half of the time. Do you know what I mean? It should be the majority of the time. And so yeah, I really think that there's something there for you. And how I mean, you say that you like the field that you're in, but tell me about the bits that don't work. Is it hours, the amount of hours that you're doing, or
No, because I can be in control of my diary.
okay?
So hours wise, it's probably about right, but it's more um, like the fallout afterwards, really, and the impact and knock-on effect that has on my health when I do just that little bit too much, because I get very caught up in the excitement of what I'm doing, and I love it when I'm doing it and it's going well, but it's just burning the candle at both ends and microwave in the middle. In it's just it's just doing me in, and I've not got it to get at the moment. Maybe that's going to change, but I don't know what it will take at the moment to find a new forward.
Mm.
Um, and maybe I don't know. I feel like there's a sense of, oh, what's your purpose in life? And I feel like there's people telling me, oh, you should be seen doing what you're doing, and the industry would be a loss if you weren't doing what you're doing. But I just think, yeah, but what if there was something different that I could be really flourishing at that wouldn't create such a sense of burnout, I suppose.
Yeah. So what do you think the burnout, where does that, so if you're saying that the hours aren't too bad, where do you think the burnout's coming from?
I think I just put so much energy into it, and probably more than I don't know. Maybe I feel like it probably stems from sort of perfectionist characteristics, where I'm trying to do the very best and put a cherry on top afterwards as well, and then some sprinkles for good measure just in case. And while we're there, let's just and it's almost that sense of, I think I devalue what I do by keep trying to add on and add on and add on, and that it's almost that sense of um, I'm thinking 80/20 rule, but it might not be quite right. But it's almost as if I keep trying to give that little bit extra, but actually that's when it starts costing me more. So maybe it just comes down to being better boundaried and being okay with charging somebody for a job that I know I could have done better,
Yeah.
which sit comfortably with me because I want to do my very best. But I do my very best at the expense of myself, and then that's when it takes its toll. So I don't know, maybe I just need to work on me. But I think it would help me to sort out a new, healthier direction.
Yeah. There's a couple of things I would say. And I'm also a recovered perfectionist. Now, when things go wrong or I've forgotten to do something, I don't care. And there's a past version of me that sees this version of me making mistakes and not caring and like is so judgmental. But like it's made life so much better. The first ever motivational speaker that I ever saw, she said, "Your new perfect is 7 out of 10." And I was like, this person is nuts. Like so I appreciate all of that. Also, another thing is that, so I take it, are you, from what you've said, am I right to assume that you've got your own business?
Yes.
Yeah. So it may be that actually you are in the right place, but that there hasn't been a kind of evolution of the way that you're working, particularly if you're charging for your time. And it's fine to charge for your time some of the time, but if your entire kind of roster of work is all charging for your time, then that doesn't necessarily mean you're doing the wrong work. It just means that maybe the method and the way that you're delivering your work needs to be more like maybe just updated. Maybe that's a good way to say it, because I think when you start off businesses, you're often like you're exchanging time for money, which is often where most people need to start off, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think you get to a point. How many years have you been doing what you're doing?
10 or something.
10. Do you have any way that people can work with you in a way that isn't exchanging time for money, but is something like, do you operate on an appointments system?
Yes.
Mm. And is that the only way that people can work with you?
There are, I could work in other ways, but because I don't hold those other ways with such value as the kind of allotted appointment time, I don't know, because I don't believe in it, then I've not invested any time and effort into it because it just doesn't feel aligned with me.
Okay.
And I feel like it's providing a lesser service. But for some people, that's all they need and that's all they want, and that's fine. But that doesn't seem to drive me to actually make that happen.
That's
But
okay.
maybe I need to work on that flexibility of thought there, so that maybe.
I I don't think there's a problem. I mean, like in the industry, particularly around like business ownership and stuff, people will often push you to say, if you're only charging for your time, then it's not a sustainable business model. You can't grow, you can't scale, you can't XYZ, which is true, but I wouldn't say that it's right for everybody to diversify in that way if it doesn't feel right. Um, so that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that there will be other things that you can offer that will be aligned with you. But I guess, yeah, it just might not be just the way that this needs to evolve for you in order to like have a bit of balance back, might evolve in a way that is not this very kind of traditional thing of like introducing like group work or whatever. You could also have some introductory things that people can pay for and that you promote. You know, there's loads of different things that you could do that would be really helpful to people and would be aligned with you. So yeah, I mean, I guess have a think about it. Tomorrow I'm just here to basically do some problem solving and some troubleshooting. So if you would like to, and that would be useful, just bring your questions, bring along anything that you can think of, and I'd be more than happy to go through some stuff, and we could do a bit of like brainstorming or whatever.
Wow, thank you.
No, it's a pleasure. All right, I have to shoot. I have another meeting, but thank you so much, Rebecca. It's been such a pleasure to be able to talk some of this through with you. And yeah, go back and go through the other bits. Although, having talked to you, I don't know if it's just more of a balance thing rather than you're in the wrong niche. I wouldn't say, you know, if things are going the way that they're going, the way that they sound, then actually your niche might be absolutely fine. So have a ponder and come back tomorrow, and we can do a bit of coaching on the spot if you fancy.
Lovely. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Take care. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.